I would like to take a moment before we get into today's main episode and to talk about my sponsor for the podcast. Podmatch is a new podcasting site dedicated to all podcasters. The platform helps hosts get connected with potential guests to appear on their show, as well as allow guests to find podcasts that will give them a chance to share their story. Podmatch offers many tools to help organize your page, from to-do lists to episode planning to potentially appearing on a leaderboard. Podmatch has it all. The best part, you have the potential to get paid. And who doesn't like to get paid from home? I like to. With an easy sign up, you can start connecting with podcasters and guests immediately. I have been a part of Podmatch since the beginning of May, and I have got to say that it was the best decision I've ever made because Podmatch helps your podcast grow. It helps you get connected with people that have very interesting, very compelling background stories that are just waiting for their story to be shared. So if you are a host or guest and would like to start building professional relationships, explore more opportunities, and have your story shared, I highly suggest that you sign up with Podmatch today by going to joinpodmatch.com/lethal venom to start expanding your network in seconds. I would like to give another huge thank you to Podmatch for sponsoring this episode. Now on to our main episode, and again, you can sign up at joinpodmatch.com/lethal venom to begin your podcasting journey today. Hello everyone, welcome to the Lethal Venom Podcast, the show where I talk about anything I want with the honest to God truth, no lies told. Today I'm joined by Miss Katie Wrigley. Katie knows firsthand the life-changing impact of trauma and how to transform it into growth. For 40 years, she has battled anxiety, addiction, overworking, and the stress patterns created by childhood trauma. Even after achieving all of her career goals in her early 30s, she felt empty, lost, and increasingly dependent on unhealthy escapes. Her lowest point came in 2018 when escalating pain left her disabled and her health in crisis. Today, she helps high performers and first responders regulate their nervous systems so they can release trauma, sleep better, focus more deeply, and build stronger relationships. Her clients have healed grief, found financial freedom, released long held emotions, discovered new careers, as well as prepared for healthy relationships, and even rebuilt identity after head injuries. So, Katie, thank you so much for coming on the show. I can't wait to hear your story today. It seems really impactful, so I'm really excited to hear what you have for us today.
Oh, thank you, Noah, and thank you for inviting me to be on your show. It's an honor to be here.
So, kind of just take me to the beginning, kind of share a little bit about how this um crazy journey kind of began for you and kind of what your earlier life was like for you.
So the journey as far as the healing part began later in 2018 after the knee replacement. And in 2016, 2017, stress levels were getting so high that by the time 2016 rolled around, I was starting to get hives on my wrists every day from stress and was trying to take Benadryl to get the hives down, which, by the way, Benadryl doesn't help stress hives in case you've ever tried. But I kept ignoring these signs of stress. And I had one of those lives that if you looked at it from the outside, it looked really cool. I was jumping out of airplanes on the weekends. I was not great at skydiving, but I loved it. I was driving a Porsche. I had a lucrative cybersecurity career and I was really good at it. I had people who were around me all the time that looked like friends. Got to go on vacation in Australia. Life looked good on the outside, but on the inside, my nervous system was an absolute dumpster fire. Anxiety was what woke me up every morning. I felt like I was alone when I was in a crowded room, which sucks if you've ever felt that way. And I didn't know what value I had as a human being. And I had this huge level of insecurity. So I was bleeding money everywhere because I thought that that was the only way that I had value for people was to share what I was getting from my wonderful career, not keeping that for myself. And I actually got into a marriage that was more of a business deal with someone I wasn't in love with, someone I wasn't intimate with. And the big driver for that was actually thinking no one was ever going to want to marry me for real. And it was extremely painful. And the way that I dealt with it, I drank, I dated a lot in air quotes, which means I was promiscuous, recreational drugs, even the career and the skydiving were ways for me to escape myself. What I didn't know until I started to do the healing journey, and it was actually an ayahuasca ceremony where I finally faced it. I had actually been running from childhood trauma that had happened to me outside of the family when I was a little kid. Now, my family life was actually pretty good. I've got really wonderful parents. I have an older sister. We're very different human beings, but growing up in that house was pretty pleasant. But what had happened in my nervous system and what got stored in the nervous system, that created a lot of behavioral issues that I didn't understand. And it made me really difficult to be around. So that was part of this disconnection. And all this was feeding this I'm not good enough pattern, which was deep driver underneath all of that. Why I was giving money away, why I married someone I didn't really love that way. And really the amount of abuse that I gave my body, like all of these were outcomes from the trauma. And once I started to understand that and started to understand that that's where that stress pattern came from, that's where the healing began. And it eventually led me to Cognomovement, which was an even bigger game changer for me than the psychedelics were.
So in 2018, kind of go into a little bit more. You said in 2018 it was kind of your downfall. What kind of happened during that year that made it be the lowest point in your life?
So at the end of 2017, so I got married in 2016, divorced in 2017. It took me longer to get divorced than it did to get married. And stress just kept mounting. And so by the end of 2017, my pain levels were so high. It was just excruciating. My neck was hurting. I had a herniated disc and I'd get numbness down the left arm. Like I could type on my computer for about 20 minutes before my arm started tingling. My right knee was killing me. I'd had a scope in 2015 to clean it out, and that bought me like about a year and a half before it started to act up. So I was limping a lot. My back was killing me because I was limping. And I was, in a word, I was miserable. And I underwent a knee replacement in early 2018 that was supposed to help resolve the pain and actually wound up making it worse. I was diagnosed with something called complex regional pain syndrome or CRPS, as well as another acute pain condition called centralized sensitization, where you're actually super sensitive to pain. And like it got to a point like if someone just kind of, grabbed me, not even meanly, but just with a little bit of force, they would leave fingerprint bruises on my arm. My body was just, I couldn't handle any more pain. And my leg got stuck in scar tissue, so they had to put me under again. But that experience made me realize that I had created a super toxic environment in my house, and it was filled with people who really didn't give a shit about me. And I knew that on a subconscious level. They were just there for, what I thought was the only value, what they could get from me, not and me as a person, but me financially. And it was so toxic that I was in such a state of fight or flight that I literally could not heal. And it forced me to kick the people out of my house who were adding to the toxicity and stealing my pain pills and all of that stuff, and forced me into this journey, which now I'm so grateful for. But that was the absolute lowest, was going through that knee replacement and having pain actually get worse instead of better. And it was terrifying because I was in my early 40s at the time, and I'm thinking, this is not going to scale for a long life unless I figure something else out. And I had no idea at the time what that was going to be.
So after you had realized that you kind of needed to get help, what was kind of some of the next steps you took to maybe try to control the anxiety?
So initially, I was still taking benzos. Klonopin was what I took at the time, and I was in Colorado, and cannabis is fully legal there. So I was taking CBD, trying to take THC at levels, which were probably adding to the anxiety now that I understand that that can come out of it. I started work. I'd already done a couple of sessions with a coach and done a couple months with working with a coach in the past and had gotten a lot out of that. And so I immediately reconnected with her again. I was still part of her accountability group. I still am actually even now because I get so much out of it. But I knew I needed help. And so I reached out to her to do a longer coaching engagement. And then within, I don't know, a month or so of re-engaging in that, I realized, okay, I need to do something else. Like I've made such a mess of my life and my health. Like I think I need another coach here. Like this is going to be more than we're going to be able to shift on our own in a year. And I signed up for a full year with the first coach. And so she had recommended her best friend to me, and I actually interviewed three coaches total. Her best friend felt like the best fit for me, and she planted a seed on that first call that I had everything within me that I needed to heal already. And initially I actually like wanted to prove her wrong. So I was following all the stuff that she suggested I do. And one of the things she had me do is she had me start meditating. And she had me start practicing forgiveness for the people who had taken so much from me. And within a couple weeks of doing that, I actually stopped limping for the first time in 18 months. And she had my attention. And we started to do some more mindset work. And she taught me how to use psychedelics in a ceremonial setting, even on my own. And I started to be able to heal, started to move to more natural remedies for anxiety and leaning more into meditation versus trying to just shut off the anxiety response completely with a pharmaceutical, which didn't seem to be working because it felt like I just rebounded into higher anxiety when it wore off. And knowing that I'm an addict, I really didn't want to be relying on benzos too much because I know the addictive potential there and just I had already had enough addictions. I didn't need to add another one.
So during this process, what did you think that you would ever get healed from it? Did you think it was something that could was gonna be with you for the rest of your life? What was kind of your mindset during that time?
Yeah, I actually thought it was going to be with me for the rest of my life, and I really doubted my own ability to heal. So the doctors were telling me at that time that I was going to need, I hadn't even looked at my back yet. That came in 2019. It was hurting, but it had been misdiagnosed, so it was kind of low on the radar. The knee pain and the arm, shoulder pain were so much more. And I had been told by multiple doctors that I was going to have two surgeries to be able to resolve it. And because my knee had gotten stuck in scar tissue, I wasn't able to bend it very far and I couldn't fully extend it until I started to do the meditation from that coach. The meditation actually made me realize I could eliminate that surgery, but I was still having some trouble with the neck and numbness down the arm. And it, it was a really low point. And I wasn't actively suicidal, but I actually lost a couple of friends in that time to suicide. And the thing that scared me the most, Noah, was I started to envy them that they had the guts to do what I didn't. And I envied the fact that their misery was over and mine was still going. But I trusted my coaches and I just kept doing what they were suggesting that I do as best as I could. And little by little, I started to feel better and I started to realize that my coach Shannon, the one that planted the seed, had been correct and that I just need to figure out how to unlock that in my body. And the key that really came to me, the big one, came in 2020 when I was actually, when we had finally looked at the back and realized how bad it was. The imaging at the beginning of 2019 was bad news. And when someone introduced me to Cognomovement in 2020, that was when I finally had proof that I was going to be able to conquer my pain.
So tell me a little bit about what the recovery process for you was like. Did you have a hard time in recovery trying to get over the anxiety?
Yes. So when I initially started Cognitive Movement, so for anybody that's listening that's been in pain, pain and anxiety like to play together like mean girls, and they'll stab you in the back when you're not looking, and it can be pretty awful. And so whenever pain would spike, anxiety would spike. And that was just a constant companion. And taking CBD helped me get it lower, but it was just kind of there all the time. And I would take pretty high amounts of edibles at night to be able to sleep. But every day, that anxiety was just there. I was worried about losing my job, which I did lose in 2019. I was laid off and then actually got another job before I left corporate altogether in 2021. I was constantly worried about losing my job, constantly worried about losing more friends because I lost a lot of them in the divorce and there were a lot of untrue things that had been said. And the people that I had met so far in Colorado didn't really have my best intention at heart. And so I was very isolated and it was terrifying. Like everybody who loved me for the most part was on the East Coast. And I felt really far away from them. My parents were in Maine. I had a good support group back in Atlanta where I had moved from, but I was so disconnected from them. And one of the things that cognitive movement does is it helps down regulate the nervous system. And so I did an initial session with Bill McKenna, and it was almost exactly 5 years ago. It was early in November of 2020. And we just did visualization. I didn't have the cognitive movement ball yet. Just did some visualization together. And he was able to drop my back pain to like next to nothing. And then I had a panic attack. And I walked around my house going, why am I freaking out? Like, this is the thing that I've wanted. My back pain is gone. And had a hard conversation with myself to see, like, on a subconscious level, because no one actually ever wants to be in pain, just to be clear about that. But on a subconscious level, there can be something in it. And for me, part of that was it was a few things. One is that I didn't feel like I was held as accountable. And because no one's expecting me to work out or take care of my health if I'm hurting that bad, people weren't expecting me to show up. So kind of let me flake with an excuse. Things I'm not really proud of admitting, but that was definitely what was part of it. And the other part was I was in a male dominated profession and I kind of felt superior to my peers. So right before I went out on disability, I won $1 million deal off of 3 calls. It was one in-person meeting and 2 calls, and they decided to go with us. And I did that, and I had high levels of pain. And so after the session with Bill, he followed up with me a week or 10 days or something later and asked how I was doing. I was like, the back actually it hurts again, but not quite as bad. And he told me about this event that they were holding, which at the time was a 3-day virtual event. Now it's 5 days in person in San Diego, and they do it every fall, called Cogno Conscious. And have you ever heard of David Hawkins, Noah, the guy that wrote Power versus Force?
I feel like I've heard the name. The name kind of sounds familiar.
Yeah, so he created this map of consciousness and he felt that every energetic level could be measured on a logarithmic scale, with shame being the lowest and enlightenment being the highest. And so in Cogno Conscious, we actually go up each one of those levels. So when Cogno Conscious started, excruciating pain, sitting on my heating pads all the time on my back and my neck, and using my anti-gravity mat because I couldn't stand up just on a regular surface. I mean, my back hurt too bad. And 3 days later, at the end of it, I walked into my kitchen and I put together a piece of furniture on my own that 2 people were meant to put together. And I knew, all right, if I got my pain gone, this is something that can be permanent. And it didn't stay zero after that, because it takes the body some time to unlearn those pain patterns and to map different response into the brain from where you had been before. And I had had back pain since the late 90s. So I'd been in 22 years at that point that I had been in, or 23 years I had been in back pain at that point. Um, but starting to hold on to that hope, and pain levels continued to drop over the next couple of years. And in 2024, I actually did a half marathon and no longer feel like I'm in pain. I may have, a couple aches here and there. Like I went to bar class the other day and my arms are still sore from that, but it's muscle fatigue. It's not chronic pain anymore. So it was a massive shift, but it took a while. And a lot of it was getting rid of the anxiety that was in there. So I did a lot of cognitive movement sessions around the actual anxiety itself. Because like I had some coping stuff I could do that was healthier, like breathing techniques. But what I found from my experience and what I also see in clients is when we can actually get that baseline anxiety response lower, then one, the coping mechanisms work a lot better in the moment, and two, we don't actually need them as much or for as long. And so it just helps to reset the body at a much more flexible, calibrated level versus being like on the brink of fight or flight all the time, which is how I had been for years before that.
So, what kind of made you want to decide to kind of give back and start helping people that may have gone through the same things that you had gone through?
I wouldn't have wished my mindset or the beginning of my journey on even my worst enemies. It was the hardest time in my life, and it was terrifying to think that I'm looking out the rest of a lifespan, however long it may have been before I started to really pay attention to my health. But I didn't think I was going to be able to travel again. I wasn't sure how well I'd be able to work before I'd lost my job. Like I had so much fear about the future in there, and it was crippling. And being able to have a way to work through that and realizing how much better it is on the other side. And I already knew that I wanted to be a coach. I knew I wanted to help people get out of pain. I knew I wanted to help them get out of stress, but I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to do that because I was still so mired in it myself. And so Cognomovement became this lifeline for me, not just for myself personally, but I'm like, oh my gosh, if I had these results and other people are having these results, that means I can help other people have these results. And so was yeah, about 6 months after my first cognitive movement session, I left corporate with the full intention of creating this business that I have now and wanting to help other people. And nothing has felt as more fulfilling to me as to help take people from these places where they're terrified of the future and help be their teammate as they move to a better state of being where they feel so much better and they start to realize that they can have the things that they want in their life. They can have better health, they can have more energy, they can sleep peacefully at night. And watching client after client report that to me over time, and some with major shifts, some with less major, some in one session, some in just a couple of sessions, some needing longer support over time, but seeing that effect over and over again, it's my favorite thing to do. I absolutely love my work.
What have been some success stories from the people that you have helped, whether it was from someone that was able to sleep better, the find financial freedom, or even rebuild their identity after a head injury? Can you share some of those success stories with me?
I can, yes. Everybody's going to remain anonymous because I have permission to share anonymously, not directly. So I just want to put that out there. So one of the biggest success stories that I've seen in the sleep realm is working with first responders. I've had the honor of working with some sergeants, some lieutenants, some have I worked with yes, I've worked with a captain and a couple of chiefs. And just working one of the pieces of Cognomovement, like, and what's interesting about first responders, a lot of times in a Cognomovement session, we're focused on the physical sensation in the body, and we're basically using the eyes to remap the brain and create new neural pathways. And a lot of first responders, in order to function in their day-to-day life, they're not really fully aware of what's bothering them. But we can actually just, again, using the eyes and looking for different neurological clues, we can get that nervous system into a much more relaxed state. And so, officer after officer was reporting, oh my God, I slept well for the first time. I don't remember the last time I slept this well. And it was happening in like 1 to 2 sessions. And there was one officer that we did 6 sessions together over the course of 8 months. They were pretty spread out. And he had had a hard time sleeping before that. And he was on the SWAT team as well, still is on the SWAT team, but he had a hard time sleeping before that and wasn't dreaming at all. And he reported by the end of it that not only was he dreaming, but his dreams were actually fun. They were more like action movies, and he actually had an enjoyable dream state for the first time that he remembered. And these are all clues that the nervous system has gotten regulated, that the subconscious has let go of some of these things that haunt us, that create insomnia, that can create some night terrors. So that was one of the ones with sleep, and that tends to be the number one side effect that my clients are reporting is that their sleep is improved. With the head injury, that was such a cool case and such a cool human being. I actually mentioned him in my upcoming book as well. So I'd been actually friends with the family for quite a while, about 20 years, and it was one of the kids had hurt himself in a skydiving accident. And so the dad reached out to me. I'd said, hey, by the way, I've got these techniques that can actually help remap the vision, use the vision to help remap neural pathways and allow him to feel like him again, even as his brain is still healing. Because we still need to have that time for it to physically heal, but we're such resilient human beings. And thanks to neuroplasticity, our brain can actually overcome different injuries by activating different parts of the brain. And there's a lot of really fascinating science around that. And so, one of the protocols in Cognomovement we call the reconnection set. And so, we were able to actually get his vision working again on both sides. And then we walk through some of the things that were kind of keeping him feeling stuck. So he had been a football player, and football was a huge part of his identity. But after you've had a major accident, and he had also shattered his elbow as well. But after you've had a major accident like that, your perspective on different dangerous sports, because football is not known to be injury free, as we know. And he was really good at it. He was going to an NCAA school, like Division 1, like the whole nine, but he wasn't really sure if he wanted to continue playing football. And so we walked through like what football was giving him, what some of the drivers were, and we were able to help reframe some of these core beliefs that were driving his desire to be in football. And he came to the realization that as much as he loved it, the things that he loved the most from football, he could actually get in life through other. He liked this sense of community, he liked being a leader. And so he just shows up in life as a leader. And he's developed a community of like-minded folks that he's meeting on different travels, different places. Like he's connected more deeply with his brother. And he's getting those things that he used to get from football from other areas of life. And he's actually doing really well. He's taking a break from college right now. He may or may not go back because he's really connected to who he is. And that's another side effect that I hear from a lot of clients is they get reconnected to who they are without the facade, without needing to be what people expect us to be and getting really comfortable being who we are. And he's actually traveling the world right now. He's somewhere in Asia having the time of his life, and he's actually building up a massive social media following and building up a name for himself. And he's actually trying to figure out how he can monetize this and turn it into a business so that he can help show other people what is possible when you allow yourself to heal. And he and I only worked together for about 3.5 months, and we're still in touch. We actually text this week. I checked in on him to see how he was doing, and he's left a couple of sessions with me in his back pocket that I'm going to honor when he comes back and he wants to do them. But he's doing incredibly well, and that was another one of my favorites there. Then you also asked about someone with the financial freedom. So I was a client who had had really high levels of pain. And the biggest stressor that they had mentioned was financial stress. And in the time that we worked together, the first big change that we had with the first session was gratitude that the accident happened when it did and not 10 minutes earlier when her son had still been in the car with her. So she wasn't sure she got hit by texting drivers going about 45 miles an hour when she was at a dead stop. And so it gave her whiplash. It kind of turned one of her ribs out of alignment. So it was poking her lung. So sometimes like it just feel like it was stabbing her. And we were able to lower the amount of pain. And through the time working together, she not only let go of that financial stress, she was able to get back to work in ways that she could work. She reorganized and cleared out her entire house, something that wasn't possible for her before. She got much more reconnected with her family, and they are number one. Her whole schedule revolves around when her family is going to be home, her husband and her kids. They are first. They know they're first. She goes to all their events. She's hugely involved with them. And she's actually well on her way to creating generational wealth, not just for herself and her husband, but she has made investments that are going to be continuing to pay out for 20, 30, 40 years and beyond that she's going to be able to give to her kids as well. And so those are some of my favorite success cases that I've had so far.
I think it's just amazing how successful these people have been. Um, what's been the most rewarding thing to come out of everything that's happened to you, um, from your own personal journey to helping others get through their personal struggles? What's been the most rewarding thing to happen?
I think there's two things, being able to pay it forward and help people get unstuck the way that other people had helped me get unstuck, and watching people start to thrive, reconnect to who they are. Like that's absolutely the favorite part of what I do. And then the thing that has been the most rewarding for me personally is seeing the benefit of continuing to do this work. So even after the pain was gone, after the stress was lower, I continue to do sessions on my own, doing trades with other practitioners, sometimes utilizing other modalities as well, doing trades with other people. Like I did a trade earlier this year with a friend of mine who does hypnosis, and we both had incredible results for each other working through that together. But really watching how much I've grown and all of the things that I've just easily let go of because I don't need them as crutches anymore. Like the most recent, I was always like a big TV watcher, especially when you're in pain. Like you don't really want to do anything except sit there. And so I really became a big consumer of TV at that time. And I've recently realized like there's some days my TV doesn't even come on at all. And if it does, I actually want to watch like a documentary or something that's going to feed my brain versus something that's going to distract me because I don't need to be distracted anymore. And having that regulated nervous system, it just makes it so much easier to deal with life. Like, for instance, I have a massive mouse infestation right now. And I can giggle about that one because Terminix came earlier today to help take care of it. Thank you, Terminix. But even before they had come, like somewhere along the way, I just decided that, okay, if I can't do anything about it, and it's completely out of my control, then I'm not going to waste energy worrying about it. Like the infestation wasn't at a place where I had to worry about getting sick, so it wasn't that bad. Um, and made some really quick changes, put out some traps before Terminix got here to kind of lower the rodent population in my house, but it didn't phase me the way that it would have in the past because there was nothing I could do about it. And the nervous system's regulated. So it's like, okay, the areas where I need to have them clean, they're clean. They're disinfected. Did the whole 99.9% killing germ stuff on pretty much every surface. I saw little rodents run over. And that was basically all I could do was get traps and disinfect and wait for Terminex. And it actually didn't bother me that much. Like it was inconvenient and it was a pain in the ass, but it could have been so much worse.
Have you ever looked back and have had moments where you kind of think, if I hadn't have taken action at this moment, do you think you would have still been here today, or where do you think your life would have been like if you had not taken that action back in 2018?
That's such a good question, Noah. I I don't know that I would still be here. I'm not sure that I would be, both for the coaches that I worked with at the time and them being the first people to actually see me. They were the first people I'd let see me. And when you allow another human to see you and you know that they're seeing you and they're just holding you in love and they're holding that space, it's so powerful. It's really comforting the nervous system. It's really comforting the conscious mind to be like, okay, I can be myself in front of this person and they're just going to love me. Doesn't mean they're going to let me get away with my shit. They're going to hold me accountable and they're going to love me while they do. Um, but no, I wasn't healthy. I, I got some messages in some of the earlier ceremonies that I did that I was going to have a really short lifespan if I continued down the path I was going. Um, and I don't know that I would have wanted to be here. So it could have been a passive suicide or a more active one, but the way that I was not going to scale. And the way that I am now, I wake up with gratitude every day. I'm so appreciative for everything I have. I get to go help people in deep ways that I never got to do in corporate. And there's just so much to love and appreciate about life. And it's drastic change from where I had been when I was envying the friends that I had lost to suicide in 2018.
What's what's kept you motivated during this whole journey?
Feeling like this is what I'm here to do, that I'm here to help people on a deep level and to help end human suffering in whatever ways that I can. And that a lot of times keeps me going. Like I still have challenges just like everybody else. I still have grief, I still have fear, I still have anger. We're human. We're going to keep feeling things. Life's going to keep happening. But that's the big thing that keeps me going. So it's not easy to build a business, especially when a lot of people haven't even heard of the modality that you use. It's an extra little steep slope to get that going, but I wouldn't want to have it any other way. I love what I do, and I love being able to watch people change in front of me in a session and go live their best lives and report back to me later how good life is because of the work that they did with me. And that's not all me either. It's the client needs to be willing to do the work, needs to be able to let go of whatever they need to let go of. And so it's definitely a team effort. And I absolutely love it. And that totally keeps me going.
If you could give anyone any advice on anything about anxiety and healing, what advice would you give them?
So, two things. First of all, don't give up. You're not alone. You're definitely not alone in feeling anxious, and don't give up. And also learn to talk to your body. So anxiety is a lot of times fear of the future. And it feels counterintuitive, but when we actually pay attention to that anxiety, and a really great way to pay attention, if you actually look down at your body with your eyes open and you notice where you're feeling the anxiety and you start to pay attention to it, just even as you start to pay attention to it, it may start to dissipate. But it can actually be easier to start to dissipate it on its own just by paying attention, and then you can let the eyes kind of go into an upward position, go back and forth. When the eyes are up, we disconnect from emotions. But being able to look at whatever is causing that anxiety and having an honest conversation with yourself about it, that's going to be one of the best ways that you can start to diffuse that response within your nervous system and start to completely unravel it. And a lot of times, these stressors can be coming out of something in early childhood that you may or may not be aware of. Our conscious minds are aware of so much less than we realize. About 90 to 95% of what we do is controlled by the subconscious. And we don't even realize that because it's stuff that we're not aware of. It's all happening beneath the surface of the water. And so being able to tap into the body, tap into the nervous system, your subconscious mind is going to start to bring those things that are important into the conscious mind to be able to help heal them. And one of the things that I hear a lot that I just want to add on, even though I said two things, this just came to mind. Sometimes I see people really afraid. Like, I'm afraid of what I'm going to find in there. I'm afraid of what I'm going to unearth. What if my mind shows me something I can't handle? That's not the way our minds work. So, what I've noticed with clients and with myself, the fear of whatever is there and the resistance to whatever is there, that's what makes us suffer. Your mind is never going to reveal something that you are not ready to handle. The subconscious is not going to throw something at you that you can't handle that's going to make you go crazy. The stuff that leads us to the worst case scenario of suicide, that's the fear of what's there and the resistance to it. So, whoever you have in your life to be able to support you through that, just start to vocalize it because your brain is not going to give you something you can't handle. Doesn't mean it's going to give you something you want to hear, but it's not going to bring you over the brink or make you go crazy. That's just not the way that humans are constructed.
You have a book coming out titled Unfuck Your Nervous System Why Stress, Anxiety, and Trauma Don't Have to Be Forever. Tell me a little bit about how you came up with the name and what the title of the book means to you.
So I came up with the name, and I'll be totally honest. I used Chat GPT to help me kind of come up with some catchy titles there. And if I'm being honest, fuck is my favorite word. Like, there's so many different ways that you can use it. It's such a versatile word. It doesn't have to be nasty, fuck you kind of thing. It can be said in a fun way, like if we're really good friends, fuck off. You like, but it's seriously like my favorite word. And my nervous system, looking back, it felt like a dumpster fire. It was pretty well fucked at that point. And so the book is about, I use pieces of my story to incorporate in there, but it's really showing people what's possible. and helping to explain what it can look like coming out of a pain journey, how stress and identity are getting laced in there, and really focuses more on why we want to do this work and what we get out of doing this work. Because if we're in a system that's already overloaded, that feels like we can't handle anything else, it feels overwhelmed, thinking about going on a healing journey sounds like the least desirable thing you could possibly do. But what happens when you go on that journey at whatever pace you can is life actually gets easier. It doesn't mean that it doesn't stop challenging you, but it gets easier. The highs get higher, the lows get higher. And so that's what the book is about. And I bring in a lot of different stories, like the client that had a head injury. I talk about his recovery in there, some other clients that I've worked with as well that we hadn't mentioned. And I try to lace in those stories as well to help people see what's possible because I don't know what state people are going to be when they're reading the book. And so I'm hoping that those stories in there are going to resonate with people and they can see, hey, if that person did it, I can do it too. And that's one of my core beliefs actually is what one human can do, another human can do. And so I felt like as I was playing with ChatGPT that day, I'm like, that title is perfect because it's one of my favorite words. And that's basically what we're talking about in the book. So I've actually got exercises at the end of each chapter. It's going to have an accompanying PDF so that people can actually do the exercises and put it into action even as they're reading the book.
What's kind of the where do you see yourself in a few years from now? What's kind of some more bucket list goals that you have for yourself or for your business or just for life in general?
Good question. So I would love to start to do more speaking gigs. I like being on podcasts. I'd like to get on stages and be able to reach more people. So the more people I can reach, the more people know that it's not hopeless. And as long as your heart is beating and you have the desire to show up, there's so much that you can do to improve your life. And you are totally worth it. Even if you have a pattern running where you think you may not be good enough, I encourage you to fight that pattern and work through it because you are absolutely good enough. You are the perfectly imperfect human being that you were born to be, and the world needs you for the exact unique talents that you bring to this world, and that they aren't less than what anybody else brings to the table. You have value as a human being out there. So, my biggest goal, I think, in the business is being able to bring in speaking gigs in there. Starting to do some workshops and some more one-to-many offers so that I'm able to reach more people as well. And then a longer term goal that I have for further down the road is I'd actually love to travel around the world for however long, spending 3 to 6 months in various different countries. And I've got a huge bucket list of countries that I want to either go back to or go to for the first time. And since most of my clients are remote, it would be easy for me to work wherever I am in the world as well, just adjusting for various different time zones depending on where I am. So that's a really big goal that I have there, and would love to have a romantic life partner. So I feel like I'm finally ready to be able to have a healthy relationship. I've done the work that I really want to have. There's actually someone that I've been talking to who may or may not be him. Don't know, don't have enough information yet, but it's exciting to think about. And I know he's done a lot of work on his side, and I've done a lot of work on my side. And yeah, just and really continuing to connect with people as just personally and professionally. We are hardwired for connection, and nothing lights me up more than having a deep conversation with another human being about whatever it is we may be talking about. But absolutely love people, and the more I can connect and the more I can get to know people, the happier I am. And the more I learn too. I love learning from other people and how they're living their lives and trying on what works for them in my life and seeing how it fits. And some things fit and some things don't, but people are cool. We're all so unique.
Everyone has that uniqueness to them and they have it just they have one little characteristic about themselves that makes them them and cannot be compared to anyone else. But Katie, I've so much enjoyed our conversation today and have really enjoyed hearing your story. Um, Do you have a general idea of when your book will be coming out? And if you do, where can people expect to purchase it? And where can people go to learn more information about the upcoming book?
So I'm expecting the book to be released around March of 2026, hopefully. We're aiming for that right now. The book is going to be available on my website, katiewrigley.com. That's KatieWrigley.com. And there'll be a link to the book there, and I'm sure it's going to be on Amazon as well. But I do plan to have that available on my website.
Alrighty. I will put off her links in the description box below so that if you would like to keep updates about what she has going on as well as learn more updates on the book, all those links will be down there for you guys to find. Feel free to follow me on the socials as well, Instagram and TikTok at Lethal Venom Podcast, as well as Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Noah's Podcast. Feel free to listen to Lethal Venom wherever you get your podcast from. I'm on all the major platforms: Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Pandora. It's everywhere. So feel free to follow it, especially on Spotify and Apple. Feel free to follow it and subscribe to the podcast on there so that you'll get notified of when new episodes come out. Thank you to everyone for tuning in today's episode. I hope y'all all enjoyed it. I'll see you all in the next episode of Lethal Venom. Y'all all have a great rest of your day and be safe.